What's going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm YouTubes on a Friday afternoon, a football Friday. As got Howard Bender with me, I am Dan Servodidio. We're breaking down some NFL Week 15 bets, player props, touchdown calls, everything with Saturday and Sunday's games. We got games on Saturday, so make sure you're getting these bets in or setting those fantasy lineups, however you're enjoying the weekend in football. Saturday and Sunday games we'll be breaking down on today's show. What's going on, Howard? How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, Servo. Listen, it's a big weekend here. We got a 3-game Saturday slate on top of an 11-game Sunday slate, and I think we're all still pretty much reeling off of that Thursday night football game where the Raiders putting up what was that 63 points they put up on the on the Chargers. Brandon Staley got fired today. This is
gone.
But I'll tell you what, though. Listen, I get it. Like, Brandon Staley needed to be fired. But last night's game, I got to be honest with you, man. I pin a lot of last night's issues on Kellen Moore, believe it or not. If you watch that game in the beginning, if you've got Easton Stick as your quarterback and you lost Keenan Allen, your number one wide receiver, and you've got Austin Eckler, Joshua Kelly, and Isaiah Spiller all to mix in, why are you doing? It was 50 over the first, I think, 4 or 5 series. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 series. The first 6 series, you had 15 pass plays and only 7 run plays. And if you looked at just go back and look at the play-by-play, and you'll see it was like 1 run on first down for 6 yards, then 2 incomplete passes and a punt. Then it was a fumble by Joshua Kelly, which was definitely annoying. But every time they kept going, they wouldn't deal with the run. They wouldn't stick with the run in any series at all, and they kept relying on the pass, and that was just bad business right there. And so for that, I actually blame Kellen Moore.
Well, and then it doesn't help when you get down like 21-0 and with the 2 fumbles early on. So it's like, all right, well, I guess they have to pass now. If they didn't early in the game, they got to now to play catch up. But that got out of hand very fast. That was, it's funny because on yesterday's show, me and Grande were breaking down this game, giving out our picks. Neither of us took, a pick on the over-under. It was at like 34.5 that it, as we were live, it went up to 35.5. And in my back of my mind, I was like, this game's probably going over. The general principle was like, the Raiders coming off of scoring 0 points the week before, a backup quarterback, Easton Stick for the Chargers. But this game's probably going to be over, even though all the trends on prime time and Thursday night games point to the under, obviously, this year. But yeah, I did not ultimately go that way, but obviously should have. Early in the game, it was like, yep, this game is getting out of hand.
Horrible.
To your point, though, with the play calling, that they should have called more designed runs for Easton Stick, in my opinion, because this guy was a weapon with his legs in college at North Dakota State. Like he's a legit dual threat guy, and he only had like a couple scrambles, I think, but really early in the game to get him comfortable too. I feel like you should have gotten him, on the boot more, maybe pulled a couple runs for him. But yeah, tough look for the Chargers. And it's funny because we're breaking down this Saturday and Sunday games this weekend, and last night's game is just a reminder that this sport is just so unpredictable. You could have, like yesterday, made a strong case for taking the Chargers plus the points, but early on, that would have easily been a loss, obviously. And it's just, we're going into this slate. We'll try to give out some winners, but who knows what's going to happen after that. A team that got shut out, a 3-0 game the week before, and now they score 63 points on their own.
I know, right? I had the Raiders -3. I gave that out over on Fantasy Alarm Show. And I was fine there. I did tick onto the under there. I did not expect this kind of a massive thing. I expected Los Angeles to do more running. They've talked about getting the other guys more involved in the rushing attack. and they just didn't do it. And it doesn't matter. Like, even if you fall behind 14-0 real quick, stick with the run. Like, you're never going to open up play action downfield, until you establish some semblance of a run. And the Raiders knew it, and they just kind of sat back and just, okay, you guys are going to keep passing the ball. We're fine with that. And that's the way it went. But yes, let's look to Saturday and Sunday for much bigger and brighter futures for us.
Yeah, I will say I did give out 2 winning props from last night, so I felt good about that. Devontae Adams and Gerald Everett gave out some winners there, but kind of a crazy game to start the week in the NFL. Let's look at Saturday and Sunday. The board is yours, Howard. Where are you going with one of your picks?
I'll start with the Detroit Lions at home against the Denver Broncos, and I've got an unpopular pick here because I think the public money is leaning towards Denver with the points. Listen, I think that while Denver has looked good, and they've won 5 out of their last 6 or something like that, and they also haven't faced in the last month. They haven't faced a strong quarterback at all. I mean, except for like they took care of, they did good work against Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen. And then the next 4 games, CJ Stroud was the only good quarterback they faced, and they lost to him. So I look at Jared Goff at home. I look at the fact that the 2 biggest receiving weapons first and foremost, the run defense for Denver is not good. It's not strong. So Montgomery and Gibbs, I think, can do the work over there. And then the 2 best receiving weapons you've got are Amon-Ra St. Brown, who lines up out of the slot predominantly, and Sam Laporta. And Denver's terrible against the tight end. And they haven't been that great against slot coverage because, Surtain doesn't come in and work the slot. He stays on the outside. So I feel like everybody is all rah, Denver, Denver, Denver. Detroit's coming off of a terrible game against the Bears where they looked horrendous. I think this is the get-right game for Detroit. I'll take them -4.5 points. I got it for -110 on BetMGM.
I love it. Maybe unpopular with the public, but not unpopular with this guy. I am totally with you. And I had a feeling because we previewed this game a little bit on Wednesday's show, and I had a feeling you'd go with this pick. So I'm glad because I would have probably thrown it out if you didn't. And it's great choice here. And looking at the Lions too. I love getting them at home. Going back home after playing on the road in their past 2 games, and they're 4-2 at home. And 3 of those 4 wins have been by double digits. So I think this could be another, game where it's, the 4.5 is kind of weird spread wise. But I do think it could be, at least a touchdown win here. So good call in there. I'm going to, I'll stay in the NFC North. Give me the Packers -3 at home here. Packers, I think they're just going to try to bounce back, come off that disappointing tough loss to the Giants on Monday night. And I just think this spread is kind of, baked into what we just saw there. And maybe it's a nice buy low spot for Green Bay going back home. And I think it's a little sell high on the Buccaneers here, coming off their big divisional win over the Falcons last week that now put them into first place barely in the NFC South. Maybe just a little letdown for that because I know these teams are tied in the wild card, same records. But Green Bay's got more, more to play for in the wild card than the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are more looking to this division, and they got more division games coming up later in the year. So I think a little letdown for them. But the big thing here is that the Bucs defense weak against the pass this year, and I expect Jordan Love to be more comfortable here, dial things up. Now that he's back home, and just be a little bit more, accurate and the passing game just more on point here for Green Bay to exploit this Bucs secondary. The Bucs defense also dealing with multiple injuries. Carlton Davis, the corner, Will Golston, the D tackle, D lineman, are both out. Also, we got Vita Vea and a couple other injuries like Devin White, game time decisions for these guys. So, banged up Bucs defense already, but also just weaker against the pass here. And Green Bay, they're not great against the run, but they are upper tier against the pass, which I think is going to frustrate things for Baker Mayfield on the road, where he's had some struggles on the road. going back, multiple years, but this year. So yeah, give me the Packers here. -3. It's 3.5, the spread wherever you look, but I think I like getting the -3, just a field goal win here, at least for the Packers, -125 on BetMGM.
Yeah, protect with the extra half point, and look for the push at worst. I like that. I do worry about Aaron Jones, whether or not he's going to play. I know that he's listed as questionable, but he did put in limited participation, because I do think that dramatically affects this Green Bay offense. AJ Dillon's got a broken thumb. I'll bet you he sits if Aaron Jones is available. And then Christian Watson, probably unlikely to play, but
I think he's
Jaden
ruled
Reed,
out. Yeah.
I love him, and Romeo Doubs and Tucker Kraft is in a really good spot. So I like this one for you as well. Next one I'm going after is I'm taking the Saints. This one actually, I got it already. I took the Saints -6. It's actually down to 5.5 now. So, oh well for me. But I think everybody's totally in on the Tommy DeVito, and everybody loves the whole feel good story. And listen, it helped me out for Survivor purposes there. But DeVito has a little bit of a rushing element to him. I just don't necessarily know if this holds up against the Saints in the Superdome. You've had 3 good games there for the Giants. The Packers were their toughest opponent of those 3 games. They came out on top, but now they're traveling. Yes, it's a controlled environment, but I just think that, I think Vegas has this right. I think everybody's looking at that being like, oh, the Giants can keep it close enough. With Saquon Barkley and whatever they got. I think the Saints just kind of slap them around a little bit. I take them -6. It's -110 on BetMGM.
I'm with you on this. I do think it's going to be just coming back down to earth a little bit for this Giants team with Tommy DeVito.
It has to.
He made some plays with his legs there, but for most of that game last week against the Packers, the Giants offense was not great. They were pretty much held in check, and DeVito too. I think he threw for less than 200 yards in that game overall. Skinny McKinney in the YouTube chat here saying #WhoDat. He's with you on the Saints there. Ryan Volts in the YouTube chat saying Love is going to have a huge game. Like I see, he likes my Packers pick there. I think Love against this Bucs secondary. I think he's gonna, really anchor that win there for the Packers. Yeah. But if you guys have any other comments, questions, picks you want to throw out in the chat here, definitely hit us up here on YouTube, whether you're watching on Fantasy Alarm or Bettor Sports Network YouTubes as we go along. All right, we each gave out some favorites here. You got 2 favorites. I got 1 favorite so far. I'm gonna buck the trend here, give it an underdog now. It scares me, but I'm going Cardinals here against the 49ers. We talked about this on Wednesday. The spread's actually gone down a little bit in the Cardinals' favor here. +12.5 is out there, but I'm just going to buy the half point there to get +13 now here. Wish I could get the +14, but it's a little expensive. But -125 on BetMGM for +13 for the Cardinals. I just think this is a trap game. I know how good the 49ers have looked this year, and especially lately, beating up on the Eagles, the Jaguars, the Seahawks twice. But this is just, after this tough stretch, now they got to go on the road, still a divisional game here against Arizona, as bad as the Cardinals have looked this year. But then next week, they got the Ravens in a big Monday Night Football game. I just think it's a weird little sandwich spot here to now have to face such a lesser tier team here in the Cardinals. And, I think with Kyler Murray back here for the Cardinals, they're coming off a bye, which I think is notable. But also with Kyler, they've looked a little bit better on offense. And, I think he can have success passing-wise in this spot here, because the 49ers defense, if there is a weak spot to target, it is, their corners in the secondary. And I think Kyler can have some success through the air. Play this close, hopefully get a little backdoor cover maybe in the second half. But they're 3-1 against the spread with Kyler Murray back here, are the Cardinals. So, yeah, give me Arizona here as the home dogs.
Yeah, you could end up with a backdoor cover in this one just as easily. We see what happens when teams take their foot off the gas, and all of a sudden you just see somebody creeping back in. So, I mean, yeah, I know on Wednesday I said, what did I say on Wednesday? I was like 38-24.
Yeah,
Is that
I
the
was like, all right,
score
I'll
that I
grab the
gave?
plus 14, but I think that's
Oh,
like minus
shoot.
150 if you really want to go there. But
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. I'm going with I'm skipping out of the point spread here on the Rams Commanders game because it's a 6.5 point spread. And I don't like either of these defenses. What I do like is the over 50.5 in this game. I just think there's, excuse me, there's just so much firepower here for the Rams. Stafford with Kupp and Nakua. He's got, Demarcus Robinson as a third wideout option. He's got Tyler Higbee or Will Davis, whichever tight end is going to get the start. So there's so much firepower there for the Rams. And on the Commanders side, listen, Sam Howell throws the ball 40 times a game. I know he didn't do it last week, but he usually does. That was, his average, I think, coming in was just over 40. So he's got Curtis Samuel. He's got Terry McLaurin. He's got Jahan Dotson. I love Logan Thomas in this game. And I think that I think the Commanders are going to have an intriguing element. They don't have Brian Robinson. He's out for this game. So we could see a little Chris Rodriguez mixed in with a little bit more Antonio Gibson. And when you use Gibson and you have Gibson and Samuel on the field, like then all of a sudden you've got two other guys, two guys who can run the football, two guys who can run the underneath routes, things like that. Gibson was a hybrid wide receiver running back at Memphis. So, I look at this game here and I see points and more points. 50.5 is where it's at right now. So bet it at minus 110 at BetMGM.
yeah, I'm with you on this being a higher scoring game. And you broke down all the Commander side of things, but I think the Rams offense is going to be having a lot of success through the air against this Washington.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Kupp and Nakua are just they're going to have a field day here.
Yeah.
Field day.
Might have a little prop coming up on the Rams side of things here coming up. All right. Going to another underdog here. A little nervous about this one. I guess same thing with the Cardinals, but Vikings +3, plus 100 on BetMGM. They're going to Nick Mullins. He is the starter now for Minnesota. Dobbs has been demoted to the emergency third string quarterback now with Jaron Hall as the backup, but Nick Mullins is the guy here. And just reading some, snippets from the coaches, reporters in Minnesota. There's some good vibes around Mullins. I mean, maybe it's just obviously they're gonna do this because they want to have some optimism about their new quarterback with with Cousins being out still. But I just think that there's been a lot of quotes about how he is going to be coming in well prepared, being with the team all season. He was hurt early in the year, but just he knows the offense a little bit more than what Dobbs was coming in through the trade. That I think he's going to be just comfortable in this Vikings offense. And looks like Justin Jefferson is going to play in this game after he left last week with that chest injury. But I think that's huge for just Mullins having, a little bit more reliable passing target there. Madison is out, but Ty Chandler's, I think, a fine fill-in for this offense. But the main thing here is that I just expect Jake Browning to come back down to earth at some point in these upcoming games. It hasn't happened. He's looked great. He's been very solid in these past 2 wins for the Bengals, but he's now got to face a Vikings defense that's very legit. Brian Flores has this defense dialed up, the highest rate of blitzes in the NFL is this Minnesota defense. They were strong against the run, pretty good against the pass, but the run defense, I think, is just going to force the Bengals to the air a little bit more here and maybe force a couple turnovers or just bad decisions from Browning. I think there's value here on taking the Vikings plus the 3, even though it's on the road, even with Nick Mullins. I haven't totally bought into the Jake Browning hype there in Cincy.
Yeah, Mullins isn't some like green wet behind the ears rookie. He's a guy who started games for the 49ers. He's been successful in the NFL. I mean, is he a starter? No, he's a backup, but against this Cincinnati Bengals defense, I think he can definitely hold his own. I've actually got one more. If you want me to go to an underdog, I'm going to go to an underdog, but it's not so much of an underdog here. I mean, listen, I just think that there's way too much emphasis being put on the fact that the Dallas Cowboys are not at home. I get it. 7-0 at home, 6-1 against the spread at home. They're traveling to Buffalo. There might be some rain in the forecast there. I was looking over at weather.com to kind of see what was going on there, because it's a late game, right? It's a 4 p.m., 4:25 p.m. Eastern game, which you don't normally see on the East Coast. So, it gets a little colder. I mean, temperatures will drop at least 10 to 15 degrees from the daytime into the night. And if there is rain, it's going to be problematic for both teams here. But I'm looking at this one here, and I say that everybody is going all rah-rah about Buffalo and being at home, and they're going to make their move. And I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm not even going to take the points with it. I'm just taking the Dallas Cowboys on the money line. If you're going to bet, you should take the points, right? But I'm going to push for the plus 110 odds over at BetMGM, and I'm just going to take the Cowboys to win this sucker outright. Again, it goes against the grain, but that's where I'm at.
Listen, Howard, I appreciate you putting your foot down with this, taking the Cowboys to win this game, because I went back and forth on this, wanted to take the Bills, but I'm nervous about how I could see it going either way. And I was I was not able to really put a lock in for this game, but you're going out with the Cowboys. Like it.
Why not? It keeps Jim Bowden off my back.
Britt Flynn in the chat here saying, hi, friends. Howard rocking the Arkansas hoodie there for Britt today. All right, that's for our game picks for this weekend. All right, let's look to some player props here for Saturday and Sunday's games. I'll start out with Matthew Stafford over 267.5 passing yards in that Commanders-Rams game. We were just talking about it, but you think it's going to be higher scoring, and I'm with you. And I think the Rams offense is going to have a lot to do with that. Commanders defense, terrible against the pass, allowing the most passing yards per game this season. Over the last 4 games, they're allowing over 300 passing yards per game. 3 of the last 4 quarterbacks they've faced have gone over this prop. Even allowed 246 to Tommy DeVito in that Giants game. But 8 of the last 10 opposing quarterbacks have been over this prop. 9 of the 13 this season overall. The Commanders against opposing quarterbacks over this prop. Their pass rush, the Washington pass rush, has gotten considerably worse over the past month and I think they're really feeling after they traded away Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Stafford's been looking better lately. He returned from that thumb injury, but he's thrown for 279 and 294 in his past 2 games. So I think he keeps it going with another strong passing effort this weekend.
I like it. I'm going to stay in that game because I think that there are 2 props actually that are kind of mislabeled here or just kind of misfired. Logan Thomas over 3.5 receptions. You're giving me that at plus money. I'm going to take that all day, every day. And then Logan Thomas over 32.5 receiving yards at minus 115. I love both of these props. I think that Logan Thomas has himself a great game. When you look at it, the Rams are horrible against the tight end. Look at what Isaiah Likely did to him last week. Right now, I know that Isaiah Likely's in that Mark Andrews role. And yes, the Washington Commanders do have Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, and they've got John Dotson. But, we see Logan Thomas get 5, 6, 7, 8 targets in a game, on the regular. He is a very active pass catcher for this team. He is not an inline blocker at all. And the Rams rank 29th in DVOA against the tight end position. They give up the 3rd most fantasy points per game to the tight end position. So I see Logan Thomas hitting the over on both these props. I love them both. So that's where I'm locking.
Well, 2-for-1 special on some Logan Thomas props. Love it.
Usually got to pay extra for that kind of action, Servo, but we got it.
A little dodgeball quote there. Love it. All right. I look, when the season starts, I always look to see when are the Titans playing the Texans. And
yes,
I'm going to be ready to lock in Derrick Henry's rushing yards. And that's where I'm going here. Over 68.5 rushing yards for Derrick Henry. I realize he's averaging a career low 4.1 yards per carry, only averaging 67 rushing yards per game this year. Houston has one of the better rush defenses in the league this season, actually. But The last 6 games for Derrick Henry against the Texans, here are his rushing yards totals: 126, 219, 250, 212, 211, and 86. All right. This is just a yearly thing here for Derrick Henry now that he is going to crush the Texans. And I think it's a boost now with CJ Stroud. He's doubtful, but likely out now within concussion protocol for the Texans. I think this is, it's Davis Mills under center for the Texans now. I expect the Titans to be playing from ahead, leaning on Derrick Henry and the run game while playing from ahead. And I think he's going over this prop. I would also consider, throw out looking at, BetMGM or wherever sports book. You can look at some of his alt rushing yards lines too, 75 plus, 100 plus, because again, the track record here, he's been over 100 plus rushing yards in 5 straight games against the Texans. And this year, I mentioned his yards per carry, his yards per game are down, but at home this season, he has at least 75 rushing yards in every home game this year, averaging 96 rushing yards per game at home this season. So Titans back at home this week. Give me Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I think Derrick Henry's in a great spot there as well, right? Back-to-back 2 touchdown games as well. So yeah, I'm great with that. I would actually look at, it's not listed on BetMGM right now, but I would look to see what the anytime touchdown will probably be like a -130, -140,
yeah.
But maybe first touchdown for the Titans, because it runs through Derrick Henry on the regular. So I like that. I'm going to stay with the running backs. I'm going to go to Tampa Bay going up against Green Bay, whose defensive Achilles heel. Ryan, I'm very, very sorry. I don't just cover your eyes and your ears here. But Rachaad White over 100.5 rushing plus receiving yards. I got it for -111 on Caesars. It was -120 over at BetMGM. So I'll take the better odds here for this to happen. I think Rachaad White has had over 100 all-purpose yards in 4 of his last 5 games. And that they continue to utilize him throughout, whether Tampa's ahead or whether they're behind, it doesn't really matter. Rachaad White gets the work over and over. So I'm going to stick with him against a very soft Green Bay. Just think about what Saquon Barkley's game would have been like, last week had he not fallen on him, tripped over the 10-yard line and fumbled the football. Yeah. Right? He was definitely on his way into it for another touchdown there. So
listen, even though I have the Packers -3 in this game, I do think this prop can hit because, as Ryan Volts in the chat has said here, the Packers' run defense is trash. Yes, that's where their weakness is, against the runs. So I think, and White is getting bell cow workload in this Tampa offense. So love that call. All right, going to a pick I gave out last week, but I if it's not broken, I'm not gonna be trying to fix it and take the under on this or not bet it. And that is Tyler Conklin over 2.5 receptions for the Jets, -157 on Caesars. It's a little pricey, but I just think this is gonna cash, so I think it's worth betting. He now has at least 3 catches in 3 straight games, 5 of the last 6. 10 of the last 12. More notably, he has at least 3 catches in 8 of 9 games that Zach Wilson has started and finished this season. He's a security blanket for Wilson. This is a proven thing this season. And I expect in this game against the Dolphins, I expect the Jets to be throwing more while trailing, simply put. So I think Conklin is going to see a lot of those targets. Dolphins, by the way, this year, they've allowed at least 3 catches to an opposing tight end in 6 of their last 7 games and 11 of 13 overall this year. So it's just all matching up for Conklin to do it again, get at least 3 catches in this one.
Yeah, Zach Wilson will lean on that short passing game a little bit. I know there's supposed to be some wind in Miami, which might, force them to shorten that passing attack, which, again, rock solid there with Tyler Conklin. I'm going to go to a wide receiver on Saturday that nobody likes, everybody hates, whether you're talking betting, DFS, or season-long fantasy football. He has been a massive disappointment. His quarterback is atrocious. And yet I'm diving in here, going with George Pickens, over 44.5 receiving yards. What we've talked about this constantly. We attack the Colts on the outside, right? That's what we do. Trubisky's going to throw the ball. He's, yes, is he going to throw a couple of interceptions? Probably, but he's going to throw the ball. Pittsburgh is going to have to. They'll open up play action with Najee Harris in this one here against the Colts, and then I think that just kind of opens it up. But everybody's just so anti-George Pickens right now. And you look at the matchup, you put it on paper, you look at it in coverage and everything like that. You can look at DVOA against the wide receiver 2 for the Indianapolis Colts, and it's terrible. It's terrible. So give me George Pickens over 44.5 receiving yards. It's minus 115 at BetMGM. I wish I got better odds, but apparently they know what I know.
Going out on the George Pickens limb there. Again, you went with the Cowboys money line. You're now going with the Pickens. I got to give you credit because these are things I would not touch. But, if they cash, we'll see on Monday, and I hope they do cash.
Me too.
Britt Floyd
not me, sir. I hope they all lose.
I hope your bets lose. Britt Floyd in the chat said the Titans are wearing the Oilers throwbacks. I love the give me the Titans against the spread now too, because that is just I'd love to see Derrick Henry's stats when they do wear the throwbacks. I feel like he always kills it and has a huge game in those throwbacks. All right, another bet here, prop that I went to last week, but again, I got to go back to it because my opinions have not changed and the line is still too low for me. Isaiah Likely over 34.5 receiving yards. This is the same line it was last week, and they haven't changed it. I think that's a mistake. He now has 40 and 83 receiving yards in these past 2 games as the starting tight end for the Ravens with Mark Andrews out. It's clear that he is a direct beneficiary of this, and he's benefiting from just being, a safety valve, but also just, he's a top target in this offense. It's him, Zay Flowers, and Odell for the Ravens and Lamar. And we've seen the Ravens play 2 games without Andrews. Likely has gone over this prop in both games. And it's not, apples to apples comparison for Mark Andrews to Isaiah Likely, but I think it's notable. Mark Andrews went over this prop, 34.5 receiving yards in all 9 games before he got hurt this year. And now Likely has gone over it in both of his 2 games as the lead tight end. For what it's worth, on the other side, Jaguars have allowed a tight end to go for 35-plus receiving yards in 8 of 13 games this year, also allowing the 3rd most receiving yards overall in the league. So I think it sets up well for Likely to have another good receiving day, even though there's apparently some rain and wind in the forecast for this game in Jacksonville. Not gonna turn me away from taking Isaiah Likely over his receiving yards.
I love me some Likely. I was all in on him last week, and that proved to be absolutely yummy delish. So I'm in there, Servo, against the Jaguars and that terrible secondary. I like it a lot.
Appreciate it. I love when you agree with my picks.
Thank you.
All right, let's get to some tight end or touchdown predictions for this weekend's game.
Oh, do you have a tight end?
I got tight end on the brain. I gave out Tyler Conklin, Isaiah Likely props. I just got tight ends on the brain here. I do not have a tight end touchdown prediction, but I think
I do.
You do.
Come on, Sammy Laporta. Give me Sam Laporta against the Denver Broncos, who stink against the tight end. Sam Laporta getting into that end zone. It's plus 120 on BetMGM. Yes. Thank you.
I love that one. Plus 120. I'm gonna stay in that game though. I think both these guys can score this week, and I'm going David Montgomery. It's minus 130 on BetMGM, but I still think he's gonna get in the end zone here. He scored 10 touchdowns in his 10 games so far this year. Has scored in all but 2 games so far. Last week he did not score, but I think he gets back in there at home. Because he has a very good track record of scoring at home this year. And you mentioned it earlier, you like Detroit in this game. I do too. I think Detroit's going to be stronger offensively. They're going to lean on the ground game against a weak Denver rush defense, control this game. And I think Montgomery gets in the end zone. It's minus 130, whatever. I just think he scores.
I like it as well. I'm very big into Montgomery, especially for DFS purposes. Looking at the I'm doing a Saturday playbook, which will hopefully be out shortly. It might have to wait until after the Sirius XM show, but I like that, and I've got Monty in there as one of the other guys. I'm going to double down, by the way, on my George Pickens. I've just decided. Not only am I going to take the prop, but yeah, I'm going to take the anytime touchdown at plus 175. How about that?
Wow, doubling down on Pickens.
All right. When nobody else wants him, I'll take him. Thank you so much.
All right. The Steelers are only 1.5 point underdogs in that game. Very live to win outright. I almost went with the Steelers to win that game, but maybe a pick there. All right, that's about it for us. Again, if you haven't already, check out Fantasy Alarm All Pro subscription. To get all of Howard's more best bets for this weekend, the DFS playbook he's just talking about for Saturday and Sunday, DFS advice for every single position, every sport too. I know like tonight we got college basketball DFS. Tomorrow college football bowl season starts up, so I got a playbook for that. But NBA, NHL, everything. So get the Fantasy Alarm All Pro subscription. And that's about it for us. Appreciate everyone tuning in here, chiming in on the YouTube chat as always. And we'll see you guys Monday. Hopefully we cash a bunch of bets and cash these tickets and come back on Monday with some winners. And good luck to all of your own bets as well. We'll see you guys on Monday. Good luck and have a great weekend.